Every time I get behind the wheel of a modern car, I'm amazed. Touch screens light up, computers talk to you, the car practically drives itself, and that's great, it's safe, it's efficient, but sometimes you feel a little disconnected like you're just along for the ride. Then, you step into a classic. You smell the old leather, you feel the heavy door clunk shut, and you see a dashboard full of strange knobs, levers, buttons that make absolutely no sense in today's world. But that's where the magic is. Those oddities are the car's personality. They're the quirks that tell a story about a different time. These aren't just obsolete features. They are mechanical solutions to problems we now solve with a microchip. Back then, engineers had to be clever in a physical, tangible way. They couldn't just write a line of code to make the air conditioning work better. They had to invent a whole new kind of window. That hands-on ingenuity is something we can all appreciate. And let's be honest, some of these old ideas are just plain fun. They make you smile. They make you think. They make you a part of the driving experience, not just a passenger. Let's start with something that used to be the height of luxury, the push-button radio. In the 1950s, this was a game-changer. Before that, you had to carefully twist a dial, trying to tune in a faint signal while bouncing down the road. Then came these big, chunky, mechanical buttons. You'd press one with a satisfying clunk, gears and springs would whir into action, the tuner physically moving to your preset station. It felt like magic. Cars like the '57 Chevy had them. It made you feel like you were piloting a jukebox, not just driving a car. It was simple, direct, and you could do it without taking your eyes off the road. Today we have giant touchscreens with endless menus. You swipe, you tap, you pinch to zoom. It's powerful, but it can be distracting. There's a beautiful simplicity to those old push buttons. Each one did one thing, and it did it perfectly. For a collector, a working push-button radio is a treasure and a mechanical marvel from an era of physical ease over digital complexity. Nothing beats that solid tactile feedback. It's a small, satisfying connection to the machine. Now let's talk about the column shifter. For decades, the gear selector wasn't on the floor. You'd pull it towards you, up for reverse or down for drive. It was affectionately known as 3 on the tree. You'd see it on a 1960s Ford Falcon and on big family station wagons. The main reason was space. It cleared the floor entirely. Modern cars moved it to the console, or used buttons, or a rotary dial. The column shifter changed the whole dynamic of the front seat. A third person could sit up front. Or your date could slide a little closer. It made the car feel like a rolling couch. Wonderfully retro today, a reminder of togetherness over single-focus control. The column shifter's best friend was the bench seat. One long, continuous seat from door to door. You could fit 3 up front. Think of a 1965 Ford Galaxy. The front seat was like a sofa. It encouraged conversation. The driver wasn't isolated, everyone was in it together. Compare that to today. Bucket seats, ergonomic, safe, often heated and cooled, with a massive center console, cup holders, storage, and charging ports. It's a cockpit for the individual. There's no sliding over. For restorers, pristine bench upholstery is a huge win. It symbolizes that living room on wheels philosophy. And when that rolling living room got stuffy, you didn't push a button. You reached for the manual window crank and on almost every car from the 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s. You had to turn it and turn it and turn it. It took effort, especially for kids. Modern cars all have power windows, a flick and the glass glides. It's effortless. But the old crank had charm. It was simple, reliable, and easy to fix with basic tools. No motors to burn out, no switches to fail, no complex wiring to diagnose. You could lower it a tiny crack with perfect precision. Rolling a manual window today feels fun and nostalgic, a small workout, and a reminder of a more hands-on relationship. This isn't about saying old cars are better. They're not. No airbags, anti-lock brakes, or rear-view cameras. But what they do have is character. And a lot of that character comes from their strange and wonderful technology, little conversation starters you can touch and operate. It's a testament to an era when driving was an adventure, so buckle up or don't. Some didn't even have seatbelts. Let's get this show on the road and explore the tech that makes no sense, but we wouldn't have it any other way. Before modern climate control systems became the norm, engineers had a brilliant solution: the vent window, also known as a wing window, a small triangular piece of glass at the front of the door. It could pivot open independently, drawing fresh air without the loud buffeting of the main window. Volkswagen Beetle, Lincoln Continental, perfect for smokers, great for defogging on a humid day. Today, intricate vents and computers keep a precise temperature, far more effective, but we've lost simple direct control. The vent window was analog engineering mastery. Angle it just so to aim a perfect little breeze, driver or passenger. Functional vent windows delight classic fans, clever, elegant, and still working 60 years on. From managing air to celebrating it, the tail fin. Late 50s design went wild, inspired by jets and the space race. Designers put massive fins on the back of cars. They served no real aerodynamic purpose, probably less stable in a crosswind, but they looked incredible. The King, the 1959 Cadillac Eldorado, towering rocket-like fins with dual bullet tail lights, pure, unapologetic style. Modern curves are optimized for low drag. Style takes a back seat to performance, which is why tail fins feel so special. They were sculptures in motion. Designers made a spectacle. Driving a finned car is like wearing a tuxedo to the grocery store. Excessive, a little ridiculous, and absolutely wonderful. Tail fins are a symbol of a confident, exuberant time in automotive history. Section 5, a grand entrance, suicide doors and fender mirrors. There's no feature with a more dramatic name than the suicide door. These are doors where the hinge is at the back. They open toward the rear. You'll find them on stately classics like the 1961 Lincoln Continental. The name came from a grim, likely exaggerated fear that wind could catch an unlatched door and rip it open. The real reason: elegance and convenience. Huge openings that make getting in and out incredibly graceful. Today, you'll see them on ultra-luxury cars like Rolls-Royce, politely called coach doors, while modern safety favors conventional hinges. On a classic, suicide doors are pure theater. Every arrival and departure becomes an event. Another style-first feature, the fender-mounted mirror, common on European and Japanese sports cars like the Datsun 240Z or a Jaguar E-Type. Mounted out on the fenders, they created a long, clean sideline, sleek and purposeful. In theory, a smaller glance from the road. In practice, often tiny and far. Hard to see much. Adjusting them was a two-person job, one inside, one outside moving the mirror. Today's door mirrors are large, heated and electronically adjustable, infinitely more practical, but the fender mirror's vintage cool is undeniable, a signal of an era when form mattered as much as function, and drivers adapted to the car's quirks. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's talk about a little accessory that gave drivers a lot of leverage: the steering wheel spinner knob, sometimes called a suicide knob. They really liked that word back then. It was a free-spinning clamp-on knob. It let you turn the wheel lock to lock with one hand. Perfect before power steering, especially on trucks. A simple tool solving a real physical problem. Today, power steering is standard. You can turn with a finger. Spinner knobs are largely illegal for road use in many places. Dangerous in a crash. But back then, they symbolized control and ease. Enthusiasts still use them for slow maneuvering, a tactile piece of old-school driving. Now for a feature that separated novices from pros: the manual choke. Before the 1980s, carburetors mixed air and fuel. A cold engine needed a richer mix to start. You'd pull a dashboard knob to close the choke, restricting air and enriching the mixture. As it warmed up, you had to push it back in. Too soon, sputter and die. Too late, flood the engine. Modern fuel injection and computers do it all. Turn a key or push a button and it starts, summer in Arizona or winter in Minnesota. A manual choke required skill, listening, feeling, every car a little different. You learned your car's personality. Getting it right felt like an accomplishment, a daily ritual connecting you to the mechanical heart. Modern drivers won't experience it, but classic owners cherish it as part of the authentic vintage experience. Features shown are historical. Follow your local laws and safety best practices when modifying or operating vintage vehicles. Nothing screams vintage quite like a massive gleaming chrome grille. In the 1950s, the front was a car's face. bold and impressive. Designers used heavy, expensive chrome to create intricate, artful grills. Think a 1958 Buick's 160 chrome squares, or an imposing Cadillac grille. They weren't just for cooling, they signaled power, prestige, and American confidence. Today, grills are plastic, wind tunnel honed, and packed with sensors. Chrome is a light accent. Old grills were about presence and visual weight. Polishing is hard work, a labor of love. In the sun, it's spectacular. It represents craftsmanship and opulence we rarely see today. Underneath, another hallmark. Body-on-frame construction. A rigid steel frame held engine and suspension with a body bolted on top, tough and simple to work on. Fender bender, unbolt and replace. Bent frame, often straightenable. A modular approach. Modern unibodies are lighter, safer with crumple zones, and more rigid, but more complex to repair. Body-on-frame feels heavy and planted, dreamlike for hobby mechanics who can even lift the body off the frame. We mentioned the choke, but the carburetor itself is a beautiful piece of obsolete tech, using airflow and pressure differences to suck fuel from a bowl and mix it with air. No computers, no sensors, just jets, valves, and floats. Before fuel injection took over in the 1980s, carbs were the heart, each with its own personality, sound, and quirks. A well-tuned carb is mechanical beauty. Modern injection uses computers reading a dozen sensors to deliver perfect fuel. Efficient, reliable, but a black box to most. You can't fix that roadside with a screwdriver. A carb, rebuildable on a workbench, it invites tinkering. Owners could tune performance themselves, and the sound of a 4-barrel opening up? Pure excitement. Classic electrics were wonderfully basic, 6 or 12 volts for lights, starter, ignition, and maybe a radio. Diagrams looked simple next to today's complex networks. No body control modules, no CAN bus, no infotainment. If a light went out, you checked the bulb, the fuse, or the wire. Logical, empowering. Today's cars are rolling data centers, miles of wiring, multiple computers talking non-stop. A simple electrical issue now might need a diagnostic computer, but classics remain accessible and understandable. That transparency is a refreshing change from sealed, complex electronics. For the do-it-yourself owner, simplicity is part of the appeal. It's empowering. It makes the car feel truly yours. So, what do we make of all these strange and wonderful features? The push-button radios, the bench seats, the glorious tail fins. Are they just relics? Yes, and also so much more. Each is a chapter in the story of the automobile, clever engineering with the tools of the time, reflecting period styles and priorities, a fashion statement, a living room, a mechanical puzzle, designed by people, for people. You can feel the human touch in every clunky button and manual crank. Modern cars are objectively better, safer, faster, more efficient, more reliable, but sometimes we've engineered out the personality. We've smoothed over the quirks, replaced feedback with screens. Old cars remind us of a deep, joyful driver-machine connection. Imperfections are often what we love most. They aren't just transport, they're experiences. When you see vent windows cracked or a massive chrome grille shining, you're not just seeing old machinery. You're seeing ideas, a different approach to problem solving and style, a different relationship between man and machine. These oddities invite curiosity, touch, learning. Next time you're at a show, look closer, for the column shifter, the spinner knob, or the little choke. Ask the owner. They'll have a story. Because in the end, these rolling pieces of history are timeless, and that will never go out of style.